Let's 3D kitbash some minis for $14.90 Doom. I recently played $14.90 Doom at the local game store, Old Guard Games, and I'm sold. One of the minis I used for my Doom company was the cleric from my Sunrot video with the big sun shield. I thought a group of knights with no shoes who worship the sun was funny, so let's make more. The main goal is to climb the highest to avoid the toxic gas that's slowly rising on the surface. My Doom company are some knights that worship the sun, so by climbing higher and higher, they're getting closer and closer to the sun. 'Tis a win-win. Plus, it satisfies a good old family favorite harkening back to the Warriors of Sunlight in Dark Souls. Praise the sun, brother. I've been trying to model more recently, but evidently my booty reveal didn't impress the agents. So in learning to sculpt, I find that I'm not at full body sculpting level yet. So we're going to start with the Vivictus Fanatics modular kit. I think a bunch of knights with no shoes is very funny. I went into Nomad Sculpt and made a few arms. This was the first time I made armor. The way I went about it was making a basic arm shape with tubes, and then using the mask tool, and then extruding to create armor plates. I made them a little thicker than I wanted, so I could sink the extruded plates into the arms to avoid resin traps in the future. As a first go, I'm pretty happy with the results. It's good to remember that not everything has to be perfect. I brought the arms back into Blender and added an armature so I could pose them. I added some weapons I've made previously, and the arms were done. Next were the helmets. I'm beginning to realize that the tube tool is probably the most important sculpting tool in Nomad Sculpt. The first time I made the piping, or whatever it's called, in the Brute's helmet, I masked off lines and then scaled up the masked area. While it looks fine, I didn't have much control over the look as I would have liked. So I switched to the tube tool to do the piping in the Scavenger's helmet, and it's much cleaner, and you have a lot more control over the shape using the profile settings. I also used a radial modifier to add rivets around the helmet. The frog helmet was very tough. What helped me was breaking down the object into core shapes and slowly adding detail. I also added the cylinder to help fill in areas where resin traps may have formed. It's wild how starting over with a second take on the frog helmet made such a positive difference. It's so often worth trying a different approach and seeing the improvement in the next iteration. In Blender, I either added a cylinder into the neck holes or used the elastic deform tool to stretch out the necks to make sure to fill all the areas that uncured resin could get trapped in. If you're trying to learn how to sculpt, 3D kitbashing may be a good way to get into it. For example, instead of this huge task of I gotta sculpt a whole knight, it was just sculpt an arm, which is a lot more manageable. I know y'all like Blender tutorials, but let me know if you'd also like Nomad Sculpt tutorials. Alright, that's the kitbash done. I printed them in Resi 1 THWW resin. It's apparently tough and detailed, which are both great things. It's water washable, but I used IPA just because that's what I had in my washing station. I cured the prints for 10 minutes on each side. If you end up trying out this resin using the link in the description, Resi 1 recommends letting the print sit for a while before painting to let the resin regain its toughness, as it may be brittle directly after curing. To be on the safe side, I let mine sit overnight. If you don't have access to a printer and want to get some miniatures printed of your own, you can go to today's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is a printing company that offers a wide range of materials. On their website, you just drag your file, select the material, and you're good to go. Everything was packaged super safely and arrived undamaged. I ordered some resin minis, a big bridge printed in FDM, and some metal minis. The standout for me was the metal minis. The definition and quality is top tier, and since I don't have a way to print with metal at home, it is really useful having PCBWay as an option that I can go back to in the future. These metal minis are made from aluminum using SLM printing, which is where you use a laser to melt metallic powder layer by layer. Might you get better quality FDM and resin prints for cheaper from your friends at the local game store? Probably. But PCBWay's metal miniature service is really interesting, and you'll be hard-pressed to find people who have access to a metal printer that can print great quality metal miniatures. If you want to use PCBWay's services, use the link in the description. Alright, now let's get to painting. Since these Sun Knights are all leg and a little armor, they're actually pretty easy to paint. I started with a zenithal highlight with a red ink underspray. I took a bunch of skin tones and based all their legs. From there, I washed the skin with Hellion Red Wash from 2 thin coats, and then highlighted with the original color again. I painted all the armor with silver metallic paints and any copper with copper. I highlighted the white robes with white and then freehanded some suns on there. Kinda fun, kinda cool. The key to freehanding seems to be going slowly and making sure you thin your paints so the paint comes off your brush easily. Also, this is the first time I tried 2 thin coats' paints. The red was very vibrant and applied smoothly. I took some dirty down weathering effects and added some to the metal. I feathered the edges and varied the intensity of the effects with water. Then I added a little extra rust with Ryza Rust and a little more intense verdigris with Nailac Oxide. I think it adds a bunch to the effects and adds a little bit of realism. Lastly, I took some panel liner and applied it to help create better separation between parts. And that's it. To the sun! Thanks for watching! I'm a big fan of how these turned out and can't wait to use them in more games of 1490 Doom. Thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring and sending the prints. Make sure to use the link in the description if you need their services. I added the walnut helmet and these cool grappling hook tokens to my Patreon model and bits box to use with your own guys. Also, I'm giving my Patreon supporters a big discount code to my merch store. Lots of cool stuff in there. Speaking of which, thank you to my Patreon supporters. I greatly appreciate the support. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. Alright, bye-bye.